I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
Abinia, this is the Black Country Blokes, doing the fact about everything is mental health, disability, and life in general. Here with me, Kev Dillon, and my partner in crime, Lee Cadman. And today we're going to be discussing what brings you out of depression, what helps you to stop feeling depressed, what brings you out of the dark room. And one of the things that helps me is what we do every week is our gratitude list, and we'll get into that straight away. I always like to get into it. And this week, because I've had a rather rough couple of weeks with health, with migraines, and going to the hospital and doctors. I'm grateful that I got my mom, God bless her, who always, from when I was a young child, 3 years old, she sat with me all the time in hospitals, and now I'm a hairy ass bloke. She's still there, taking me to hospitals and holding my hand and being there for me. So I'm very grateful for my family. I'm also very happy. One of my young boxers, Tom Jones, boxing the development championships, first round, went out there, boxed a treat, stopped his lad in the second round. So we're through to the Midlands final this Saturday, sorry. And I'm also over the moon that boxer Osman Mohammed is now in Germany. He's been picked to go to the World in November, but he's gone to Germany to get some bouts under him. And he's got like Ukraine, all these wonderful countries coming over there. So what a wonderful experience. And I know we're going to be talking all week on WhatsApp. I mean, how great it is nowadays that we've got the WhatsApp so we can be messaging each other, phoning each other, and you can stay in touch for free. And sometimes, I mean, his England coaches are brilliant, but sometimes it's lovely to have your old mate, your old coach who's brought you there just to give you a bit of TLC. So I'm very grateful this week. How about you, old pal? What are you grateful for?
Along the same lines of you, Kev, with technology, I'm really grateful that we have the ability now to go online and learn new things. I've took up coding myself over the last few weeks, so I can sit there and program things. And I think what amazing world we're in, where we can do this. We can go online, we can learn new language. You can the possibilities of your ability to learn now. We have the internet is endless. You don't need to go to a teacher and be taught it. You can learn things via the internet. You can learn things virtually. You can have a teacher right in front of you without being in the room. And that's fantastic.
And that's only been over. I mean, we were 80s and 90s kids, and it was an encyclopedia. It was going to the library and reading and researching.
And even then, the information you got was really finite. It was really small because you only had that encyclopedia. You only had that. Whereas now, it's awash with knowledge, isn't it? And some of it not correct, granted, but it's awash with knowledge. If you don't find what you're looking for on that site, there's another, God knows how many million sites that will point you in that direction.
Even to like building a swing, you can you're reading the instructions. You're going, what the bloody hell? Hang on. We'll Google it. We'll find a YouTube, and whatever it is, building that table, setting up this equipment, it's great. So you can get your information. And as we all say with education, some people have to read, some people have to see, some people have to hear. But the great thing about technology is now there is a way to learn.
Well, you cover all those bases, don't you? You can go on YouTube and watch how to do something. You can go on a website and read how to do something, or you can have it playing in the background on a podcast.
Audio books.
Yeah, it's every angle's kind of covered, is it, in that sense? And for you especially, like to have that, to have an audio book, you can't physically read a book, so you're missing out on that experience. But now, you know what, you can get an audio book. I know you had audio books when we were younger, didn't you? But it was tapes, and it
was different.
Yeah, it was different, and now you can listen to a podcast, like I say, and you can listen to a podcast about stuff you're interested in. More as when you were listening to them audio books, it was a select audios, wasn't it? There was it wasn't every book that was ever released was put to tape.
And it's like even like listening to documentaries or audio, when it's sound bites, Tupac or a hip hop or a boxer or whoever, and you're listening to their story in their words.
Yeah.
They've picked segments of it, and you know what I mean. With depression, I mean, I remember because I've always loved knowledge because I couldn't read, and my font was so big, and I struggled. I had to go Kev in deal, learn. So I have to break everything down in like syllables. So by the time I've got to the end of the line, I forgot what I bloody read. So it's great nowadays. I can learn. I could just put something on and sit there and go, that's great. I've learned something.
I think you also look at the history it's keeping for us. Like you just mentioned, like the Tupac clips and all that. Like on YouTube now, if you type someone like Tupac, who's been gone a good few years now,
20 odd years.
but there's stuff on there that's archived and it's old, and there's stuff on there you probably still haven't seen. You know, of people who've done home recordings of him and everyone else out there. You know, it's fantastic that history can be there and stay alive.
And that, with the depression thing, I think that does help because, I mean, like our children now, both daddies, but we record everything, don't we? You know what I mean? Like how many times a photo album, our parents or our grandparents, and the photo album was damaged and you've lost everything. I mean, that can still happen if we don't back our files up. And you know, when you've lost all your numbers, you've lost all your videos, and Jasmine, my daughter's first steps, has gone broken. How devastating it is. But hopefully your missus, the grandparents, someone has got that important videos, because once something's gone, it's gone, isn't it?
It is, but I think it's a double-edged sword, that one, especially when it comes to photos, because how many photos now do you physically take off your phone and put into an album and you sit and look through it?
See, I especially for
old
my mum.
school, yeah.
I am, I still have CDs, don't forget. But I
you have to explain what a CD is to people now, Kev.
Go and Google it. But like for my mom, for most birthdays or Christmas, I get her a photo album of either Jasmine or whatever. My dad, we got him a GB for his lifetime in GB boxing. I've got to do him another one. That's still waiting to get him to sort all his pictures out so we can do one, because there's nothing great. It's nice scrolling on your phone, but when you sit down with a book, and especially for me, so it's big size print, and I'm looking, going, blooming heck, how young did we look? Or I remember.
I find I don't do it with my phone. Whereas if you've got those things that you don't do it every day, but you know, you go up the loft every once in a while. Oh, I've got this album. You sit and look through it.
Yeah.
But you never really sit scrolling through your phone looking at the old photo. Well, I don't. That old photo. So it's almost like you've took them and then moved on. And maybe part of it is that you can take a photo at any point at any time now. We've all got mobiles, whereas before you had to have a camera. You had to have it. There was a process involved. You had to get them developed. You know, it was a lot longer winded, and you appreciated it more because of that.
But you know, on Facebook memories will pop up, and you go, bloody hell, that was 5, 12, 10 years ago. Or like our Kate, she's got something on her phone, and it'll just pop up 10 years ago today. We were, and you go, but that's nice, because that's a spontaneous memory. You go, bloody hell, look at that. And I think, you know, so that can work with depression, with it and against it. You know what I mean? Sometimes like I was so happy then, I'm not now. Or the voice time, like I'm in the dumps now. However, bloody hell, weren't they great days? Even though I'm struggling now, wasn't I lucky that I've had so many good times? And that depends on how you're feeling depression at that time. Whether I'm willing to acknowledge that I'm going through a rough time now, but it will get back to those days, or whether I'm just drowning in the sorrow.
Yeah.
And I say, like, the rabbit hole, and you go down a rabbit hole, and deeper down there you are, harder it is to see the light, or the dark room. And it depends where you are in it, because sometimes when you are fully depressed, not sad, being sad is a human emotion. We should feel sad. Oh, Lee didn't talk to me today, or Kev didn't take me on the pads today, or my girlfriend's broke up with me, or that's feeling sad. We should feel sad, you know, if something's happened. But depression's a whole different drowning sensation, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we've both felt it, haven't we? And
and but as I've got older, I don't get as depressed as often now, without doubt. I think that's partly to do with what we do here and talking things over, whereas before it was more bottled up. But I also feel like there's always a light at the end of the tunnel when I do, whereas I never used to. You know, I don't know whether that's an age thing or what's involved, whether it's an experience thing, maybe not age and experiencing. So I always know. I've always come out of it before, so why would it be any different this time? And my mindset changes in terms of, I used to wallow in depression. So, like the photograph, if I looked at an old photograph, it would send me further down, whereas it wouldn't do that now. My mindset's changed to look at it more positively, and that don't mean I don't get depressed. It just means when I'm in that depression, I have a more positive mindset.
I think it's learning the skills, and once again through age and learning what has worked, what hasn't worked, and if something always has worked, then you don't variate from it. And I think like with
But,
depression,
sorry, Kev, but I think it's through experience. I think we mentioned age, but like there's people out there who at a younger age than what I was suffered depression and have learned through that experience.
and sometimes if it's got you out of it, i.e., drink, drugs, women, gambling. So if it's got you through it before, you tend to go back to it. It's until you get a bit old, you're going, did it help me to get out of it, or did it prolong getting out of it?
Yeah,
And that's the experience side of it, isn't it?
yeah,
And sometimes a bloody good drink doesn't do anyone no harm. However, when you're doing it all the time, you're just feeding the fire. And it's learning different tricks of the trade, and it's learning yourself. And that's something that I've learned. I mean, my partner and my daughter pulled me out of it. I said the worst depression I had in ages was in one of the lockdowns when my daughter had gone back to school, but I wasn't at the gym. So I'd get her up, get her ready for school, get her there, pick her up from school. But the hours around being with my family was spent on the couch under a blanket. So I needed something. That's why I really loved doing it, because I had to think every day. I do my positive talk on Instagram and other social medias, but I had to think of something positive. So if I'm thinking about it and saying it, it's trying to give me something to hold on to.
yeah.
And whether that's doing as I do, talking on a phone or jotting something down, but it's trying to bring something to the forefront, i.e., with a gratitude list, like with our support group. How's your week been? Oh, it's been terrible, bloody terrible. But what's good? Nothing's good. Nothing's ever good. But you've got here. Did you drive? Did you get a lift? Did someone give you a lift? Could you get on a bus? Could you walk? And you talk? And it's by those little breakdowns that have helped me.
But I think that's what the flip of the mindset is, isn't it? Because we used to talk like that, didn't
Yeah,
we?
yeah.
That was the so how's your week been? But that's not being grateful. And let's be honest, if you think of the bad things when you ask that as well, whereas actually what you're grateful for is a different question, and it's a mindset of changing to that way.
And
that doesn't stop you being depressed.
And it's not saying what's good. Well, I'm not showing off. It's just I've had a good day. My lad won on the weekend, or I've got a great mom who took me to the hospital. So it's not showing off. I've made £1,000 this week, and because if that's what floats your boat, God bless you. But it's whatever pulls you aside. It's what makes you grateful. I'm not money driven. Neither of us are, man. We need to pay the bills.
We'd like more money.
We'd like more money.
That's a different, not money driven now, but like more.
But if that's your way, and if buying yourself a new pair of trainers, like when I used to pack in the cigarettes or the booze or whatever, I've packed in a lot of stuff over my years. I used to then go and reward myself by buying something, be it a CD, be it a CD player, depending on how much I would have spent on whatever it was, one of my voices. I would physically go, wow, I can now afford a stereo. So all that money that I would have wasted on whatever, it was a physical reminder of you could blow this on cigarettes or you could buy it on this.
Yeah.
And I think as you become a family man, then I could be spending £80 to £100 on cigarettes a week, or we can go on a holiday, or we can have adventures, or my daughter can have something, because as we get older and we become less selfish, that hit, that voice could be spent on the people I love the most, or on a family adventure. So it's realizing it's realizing what lights the fire, be it the fire to keep on going or the fire to keep you warm. But you've got to know what pulls you out. What other things have you used over the years with depression?
What have I used over the years with depression? You know what? It's really hard to answer, because I felt like there's a time in life when I was a lot more depressed, and I couldn't really tell you what got me out of them at the time, whether it was just something that happened, or you know what I mean. I don't feel like I went out my way to find a solution to it, because I was too in that dark room to find a solution. But somehow I always end up on the right side of it. And it's only really since I started asking for help, and I think that's probably the key to it for me, asking people for help when you are in depression. But I don't think I've ever gone out there and physically done anything that different.
Well, exercising, you've fell back
Exercising helps, but when I used to be in really dark depression, exercising is useless because I wouldn't exercise.
Get off the couch.
Yeah, so I can't tell you that at that time that help. It's usually once I've coming out of that
on the recovery,
then it does. But at that point, like, it isn't. I think the only thing I'd say now, if I realise I'm going down that road, I will give myself a time limit to be depressed. And that's where exercise probably does kick in. So I say, right, I know this is coming. I don't feel like I can avoid it this time. So I'm going to give myself 2 days lying on that couch. But on that second day, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do something. And that's usually exercise.
I think what's helped us both out, though, is we've known each other for bloody a long, long time. But it's the constant knowing that you can phone someone.
Yeah.
And like with
we didn't have that before, did we, Kev?
But we'd phone each other for a laugh.
No, but
or a drink. Yeah. Or house boxing. Have you watched Joe Joyce on the weekend?
Yeah.
But it would be.
But 5 years ago, we didn't have that.
No.
It was
boxing, movies, drinking, laughing. I'm getting married. Great. But it wasn't, I'm getting married. I'm petrified, or am I good enough? Because in all honesty, as the man I am now is completely different to the man then. I've always been a caring soul. But if you phoned me up out the blue and went, I'd be going like, yeah. Do you want to go for a beer? Because that would be my natural thing. Let's go for a beer. Let's get hammered.
Yeah.
Instead of nowadays, we can phone each other from half 7 in the morning to half 12 at night and just, all right then, let's have a talk. Or even sometimes, I'll shut up, you talk, which I know a lot of people find out. But it's my natural go-to would have been, let's go and get smashed.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, I think that can help sometimes. You know what? Let's go away and let's have a good few hours of forgetting about everything. Yeah. But sometimes it just leads it to darker places, doesn't it?
And sometimes, and I've been that guy. I've had to go and get absolutely trolleyed so I could talk. You know what I mean? But I can't really remember what I've said. And as the other guy who's listening, I can't really remember what you said. But what we've got now, and what I encourage people to do, is you can sit there and go, like, the baby's poo, like, all right, but phone me up when you get out of the hospital, or I'm having these migraines, or, Lee, I ain't in a good place, bro. I'm not going to do nothing saft, but I have been having thoughts of it and not being judged by the old pal. And I know if one of us did step over the line, we would say, come on, let's go and get it sorted.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to grab the bull by the horns and do that. And it's nice that because we've got that relationship now, you're not trying to get me locked up. You're not trying to throw away the key. It's like, if that did happen, I'm doing it to save you. I'm trying to get.
Well, it's funny enough you mentioned that. It's not technically depression, but you said to me a few weeks ago, Lee, you need to go and get help. Do you need, or didn't you? And you saw me going, not depression, just stress and a lot going on. You said, Lee, you need to go and get help. And you said that, well, it's probably over a month ago, isn't it? Before I'd realised that. And you're saying, Lee, actually, you need to go and find some help here, or talk to someone, do something. Because you could see I was getting more stressed, more anxious, because that's what it brings on with me. You get stressed, you start getting anxious. Next step is usually panic attacks, isn't it? But you go and get help. And it took me a few weeks of you telling me that. And then I went, okay, I've got to go get help here. But you realise that point before I did.
But all I really did was plant the seed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's the beauty of it, though, isn't it?
It's because if I said, come on, you got to go, you go, no, it's until I remember it was however long. And then, and then you said to me, probably on air, or I don't know, you went, I phoned someone. But it wasn't like you phoned me straight after. It was a day, and you went, oh, yeah, I have phoned someone because you're right. But and that's what you do in your family and you see each other all the time. You're going, I'm aware. And sometimes it's harder, as we've seen with what is that to do. Sometimes it's harder with a mate because you're thinking, is she gonna take it right? Are they gonna? But we've got that kind of relationship. Whereas I'm just saying it now, we've got enough numbers on our phones. Let's don't just preach it. Let's go
Yeah.
and do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And
It is harder with some people, but that shouldn't stop you doing it.
No,
either.
no.
And I know, and that's, I think that's as if I was to say it to you, I thought if I saw you going down that, I said, actually, Kev, I think you need to contact this number, whatever.
Yeah.
I know you, like I know you and you know me. You go, actually, he knows speaking sense, because he wouldn't put himself in a position where he thought he'd use a friendship if he didn't believe in what he was saying.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And that's what I'd recommend anyone out there is find people you can confide in. And that friendships like pots, it's very, very rare you'll have a pot that perfect person can fall into. You can lend money off, lend money to. You can go fighting, go drinking, but don't judge people for what they can't do. Love them for what they can do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when you've got someone who you can confide in and they confide in and you take their advice, and me and Lee, you've heard us, we disagree on stuff. That's nothing wrong, because that's what a friendship is. You haven't got to be surrounded by yes men, but I disagree with that. But you know, when it comes to the crunch and going,
our podcast would be boring if we agreed with each other all the time, wouldn't it, Kev?
Well, no one agrees with me all the time. but having that person, you can go, I've stepped over the line. So I appreciate you being able to say, this is my opinion on it. Because some people will let it go until it's gone too far. And either you make a mockery of yourself, you make bad decisions, or you make choices that you can't come back from.
Yeah.
So it takes a real friend to go, I'm saying it now before it goes too far. Even if you drop a clanger, we'll still be friends. However, I don't want it to get to that degree. And it's having the courage to sometimes realise they're saying it for the right reasons, not to hold me back, not to dampen my flame, but because they're seeing something that maybe I can't see at this particular moment.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't realise you're going down that rabbit hole, do you?
No.
But got a couple of comments there, and actually, if anyone who's listening wants to comment in what's helped them through depression, drop us a comment, Facebook, YouTube, we'll read it out. But there's loads of things that help different people through it, and my sister's commented, Charlene, that exercise is one of her helps, and stay hands up. He's just said, evening, gents, a little late for this one.
Haven't you?
We'll let you off, Steve, this once. Don't do it again.
But like, I know so many people, you include, go and do exercise, get the endorphins going. Me, like sometimes, like when I'm on holiday, I don't have my phone on. And that does me the world of good when I'm not here. But when I am here, I like to have my phone on because I'm someone who likes to talk to people. Sometimes it's self distraction, just talking to people and trying to help people to try and get my mind off it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Almost putting problems on the back burner. And I know a lot of people say that's not healthy, but it can be even like watching old movies. You know what I mean? Be it like a Godfather, which is an epic, to something about Mary or Forrest Gump, but it's something I can zone out to. You get it out of my head to listen to music. I love music, but finding different music that reminds me of the good times, and to self-medication. That's got me in more trouble than it's done. Got me out of it. But meditation, not medication. And I do it more when I'm on the brink of feeling bad than when I'm feeling good. But I was getting a real good habit. I do my gratitude and then just breathing. I'm feeling relaxed from my head all the way down to the feet, and I remind myself of good things, affirmations, going over and over. But meditation, self-hypnosis, that has worked wonders for me because I believe in hypnosis. That's helped me, whether it helps other people. And sometimes the tapping, Nick Davis taught me how to do it, and Emily Barney's taught me tapping. That helps me. So if I'm getting flustered or down, I try and do the tapping to bring me into a positive frame of mind. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
On that note, Charles, if you're still listening, I'm pretty sure Charles mentioned to me last week there was somewhere local doing a tapping session.
Yeah.
So if you can write in the comments, I'll definitely read it out. It might have been someone else who's talking to me about it now. But if it is, write in the comments. I'll read it out. We'll give them a plug, and hopefully people can get to them and use them. But Steve's put on there, motorbikes helps his depression.
Yeah.
I'm on the same boat. There's nothing better than going out for a blast on the motorbike and forgetting everything else that's going on, because that's your pure focus at that time.
But I think it is that there's sometimes Cherry, what's that? Gillings. I always remember we were up in this room, first time we interviewed her, and she was on about addiction and depression and all the things she'd gone. And she says sometimes you're driving the car and there's a fire behind you, and you're always looking in your rear view mirror, and more you're looking at it, more you're crashing into things. Sometimes you've got to stop the car and address the fire, then drive away from it. And that could be sometimes with depression, can't it? Sometimes I need something else to occupy my time. Sometimes I have to actually sit down and go, why am I feeling like this?
See, I was about to say that myself. A lot of times you're in depression and you don't really know why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't stop to think why. Maybe that's a better way. You're just in it. You don't really, you don't stop to think, well, actually, why am I in this depression? What's going on that's affecting my mood? You're just there, aren't you?
And sometimes depression can be triggered by something, and sometimes it is depression where it's a chemical imbalance, where you are just, everything's going well. I've been up boxing, Osman's won in the world, done a little bump. Mike Tyson's hit me to the belly, and I curl up in a fetal position, and I can't get up. And it is no reason. But it's realising that.
Well, there is a reason, as you say, chemical imbalance. It's just it's not a feeling reason, is it? It's not something that's gone wrong as such. It's just,
why am I feeling like this? And when there is no reason, all right then, why do I feel like this? I don't know. How do I stop feeling like this? And that's when the breakthroughs have come through in my time. No one likes feeling depressed. No one likes feeling like blooming neck. I haven't washed in days. I smell. I'm sad. I'm
usual for some minute, Kev.
You know what I mean? But if I can then think, how can I tip the balance in my favour? How can every day I start feeling just a tiny bit better? And if I don't want to get washed, that's all right. But you learn yourself, and it's how can I bring back a shadow, a sliver of me?
I think that's definitely experience as well, isn't it? Because when I used to be in depression, before I'd experienced them, you were just in it. You weren't thinking about how to get better, were you? You just in that dark room, trying not to drown. Whereas as you get older and more experienced with it, you start thinking, well, okay, I need to get out of this. There needs to be something different. I've got to realise what's going on and change it.
And I think once you're in for first, second, third, 100th time, this is forever. But you have to remind yourself, if it is your second, third, 100th time, I got out of it last time. And I love that saying, I have survived everything that life has thrown at me so far. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So I can survive this. I will survive everything until I don't. And let's hope this one ain't the last thing that beats me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's experience, and it's talking to like-minded souls. I used to love our support group behind me in the classroom above the Lions, and listening to people, different shapes, sizes, ages, professions, and going, you too. And I love that. Me too, or you too, and realising, wow, bloody hell, you too. Have that in our talks and bricky sites and solicitor sites, and it don't matter how wealthy or poor or what your background, you too. Bloody, we've got that in common. And I think it's lovely, the Furies and the Frank Bruno's, all these people. But what is more relatable to me is an average day Joe. You know what I mean? Be a rich, poor, whatever, but someone you meet in the real world and go, wow. So if you can get through it, then I can get through it. If I can get through it, you can get through it. And that gives us hope. And I think hope is the greatest thing that anyone can give. Because dread, you're drained in dread. But hope is like a float that can just get you through it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Kev. But it is hard when you're first going through it all, isn't it? And you don't really know what's going on. And if anyone is listening who is suffering and don't know a way out, just speak to someone about it. speak to someone about it, and it doesn't have to actually be a friend. There's numbers out there, isn't it? We mention quite often. You can text these numbers now. We'll put them in the notes on the show. But, you got text services, you've got phone call services. Hopefully, you do have a friend, a family member you can speak to. But if not, there is help out there, and you can speak to them.
I just remember, if it's debt, if it's illness, if it's most stuff, there's a way around it. And if there's not a way around it, there's coping mechanisms. So don't drown in it. There might be a solution. There's always hope.
It's right. Yeah, Kev, knowing you're not on your own is a big help. When we're depressed, we feel like we're the only ones. That's ever felt like that.
But it's
true.
The best friend of any mental health is loneliness. And whether it's when you're coming out with your sexuality, whether it's you're coming out with abuse, whether you're admitting that you've got OCD or you've got suicidal thoughts, and whatever it is, and you believe that no one else on this planet of 7 billion people has ever felt like you, that's frightening. But when someone goes, it's okay, it's normal. It's normal to be different. It's we all struggle, or you know what? These people will help you out with your debt. They won't take your house, or social services won't take your kids because you're having panic attacks or postnatal depression, and then you go, because more we build on fear, stronger it becomes. More the fear becomes real. The monster no longer lives under the bed. He owns my house. So more we can show that these problems, these fears, these thoughts can be dealt with, it empowers you as a person. I know it's empowered me, realizing that I felt like this for a reason, and I suffer like this, but I haven't got to suffer, or I feel like this, but there is a solution. That has empowered me to talk as openly as I do now, and hopefully it will empower you guys to reach out, either professionally, internally, whatever it is, but start getting it off your chest. Because once it's off your chest, then you can move on to it. Once you can own your problems and own your successes, then you are the ruler of it. You're the king of the situation. But more you hide away from it, then the problems, the situations, they own you.
Yeah, don't bury your head in the sand about it.
You bury your hand, it's just your arse sticking up.
Very true.
Has your sister root back?
Yeah, so she doesn't know the information yet, but she'll get it to us when it's happening, and we'll announce it then.
Brilliant. Well, pal, I think that'll do today. We're on the radio as always. Soon, Black Country Extra will no longer be. It'll be on the internet, but it's going to be on your car radio. So it's called DAB.
DAB, yeah.
DAB.
Hopefully, I think it's end of this month or end of October. We'll be going to DAB.
So once it is, then we'll put the links out and it'll be great. And hopefully then we'll be on the radio. You can write it on what songs you want us to have, and always get involved with the conversations. Now, our saying today, I loved the sayings, and it was, one day you'll thank yourself for not giving up. So I want you to remember that. One day, once the depression's gone, once the fog's cleared, once you're out the dark room, one day you'll thank yourself for holding on and not giving in. So, guys, until we see each other next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ra a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.